that does make sense.
All right. All right, cool. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ignorant Intellect. It's your boy, Willie G. And today we have a question. Should semi-automatic rifles be banned in America? And let's take it, I guess, a little bit further. Let's say, should semi-automatic guns in general be banned in America? So there have been an increase in reported mass shootings in America over the past few weeks. There was a grocery store out in Buffalo, obviously the school shooting in Uvalde, plenty of more reported school shootings and mass shootings since that point. And as a result of an increase of these reports in the national news, we're obviously hearing calls for revisions to gun regulation, even so far as gun control in some situations. Now, it seems that since the Uvalde shooting, I hope I'm saying that right, mass shootings have become a bigger issue than COVID, or even police brutality for that matter, systemic racism, all that other stuff. The point is, this is capturing a lot of attention right now, and it's a topic worth discussing. Now, no one that I've spoken to would claim to be an expert on the topic of guns or gun laws or anything like that. However, we are citizens of this country, and despite our understanding of these issues and those similar, we as a collective do have an impact on the greater society. So I find it in our best interest to conduct conversations that will hopefully shed light on our own shortcomings. Therefore, we can begin to open our minds to new thoughts and insights that will ultimately positively affect our positioning in life. Now, before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell to be notified of all the latest content as soon as
you do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
So with that, I welcome me compadres to the show, Dominique Barnes, Jerry Cooper, and the notorious Elon, not Musk, Ferguson.
Man, it's too many shooters out here, man. It's too many shooters.
What you guys think about that intro? Was that pretty cool or what? Was that good?
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I like how you
you definitely practiced that for sure.
Oh,
but that's good. Hey, man, practice makes perfect, man. I ain't mad at you. Keep going.
True. Practice does make perfect.
Gotta keep going.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start this one off with E. So, E, can you provide us with your understanding of what a semi-automatic weapon is? And if it makes it any easier, also try to provide an example of what one would be. Yeah, so E, let's start with you.
So a semi-automatic is a M16. It has a switch on it to where it lets off of automatic rounds, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like a single shot. So like when you pull the trigger, it would bust off maybe 3, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's my definition of a semi-automatic weapon.
Okay.
It's the difference between a ya and a ratata.
leave it to the niggas to talk about some ratata. Hey, if you hear some okay, so Don, what about you? What do you think?
You hit the nail on the head. A semi-automatic is just something that can lay some people down in a fast fashion, where you got the single fire rounds as well, and you got some rifles that are, you got to load each shot as you fire as well. So there's a bunch of different guns out there. I would prefer a semi-automatic over anything else if I had to do a job.
Okay.
What kind of job you got going on, Dom?
Hey man, a job that obviously needed that semi-automatic.
Oh my goodness, you told me if I need a job. Nigga's crazy.
You ain't got the heat on you, Jerry. You be lacking in these streets.
Yeah, niggas can think that.
Okay then. Okay then.
Niggas can think that for sure. Definitely.
Jerry, what about you? What do you think? Can you provide us with your understanding of what a semi-automatic weapon is and try to maybe provide an example?
Yeah, AKs, also known as right.
So they semi-automatic.
AKs, also known as chops. Also known as, you know what I'm saying, the stop button, all that shit. You know what I mean? So pretty much they said it, shit that'll knock a nigga down, not knock the block down. And they're doing illegal shit these days. They putting switches on them things where they could, let that thing sing. You know what I'm saying? Let the drum go, and that's not okay. I don't think that those are safe weapons per se for civilians. I don't think so, but you know what I'm saying? They out there.
Okay. And what are these particular guns? Do you know what they're called? You said AKs. That's one M16.
I mean, almost any gun can be turned into a semi-automatic gun.
Yeah, if you put it exactly.
Can you give me like a defining characteristic of what a semi-automatic gun is?
A defining characteristic of a semi-automatic gun, it has a large clip that allow rounds to be able to be spread consistently with the pull of a trigger versus a handgun pistol where boom, 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 you can, you know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know what I'm saying? That right
niggas making them
guns
sounds again.
I was about to say, can we just talk about how you cannot explain guns without making that noise?
You gotta understand, because you need to understand the difference between boom and yeah.
and bang bang.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, yeah, that's that.
You saying the rats are no good?
Yeah, I don't think that they're any good in the neighborhoods. I don't think they're good for the neighborhoods. I think that the neighborhoods, I think that civilians should just have access to shotguns and
Handguns.
handguns,
Okay.
not necessarily semi-automatic rifles that are damn near military grade. I don't believe that they should have that ability.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, I can work with that. So then obviously, Jerry, let me come bring it right back to you. Despite what's written in the Constitution, right, and obviously not considering individuals with any pre-existing limitations in their abilities to possess firearms, right? So like felons, mental illness, children, women. I mean, no, not that last one. Whatever. What is your stance? I'm joking. I'm joking. For anybody that's about to watch this video, be like, "Fuck you, Will." I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, so what is your stance on gun ownership, Jerry?
I think that everybody should have. I think that everybody should be able to own a gun, but I think that you should go through a process to be able to own a gun, and I think that you should be vetted before owning a gun. I don't think that you should just be able to go into a store and be able to say, "Hey, I'm 18. Let me go get this hammer." Like, nah, I don't think that's cool.
Okay. All right. Dom, what about you?
I think that the process that we currently have is a little outdated simply because it allows a lot of people that probably don't deserve to have guns to be able to get guns. But at the same time, I'd rather have a process that we could revamp than not have guns at all. Because I think if you don't have guns at all, you just end up with a lot of people being able to cause harm to you without you being able to stop them.
Right. Good point. E, what about you?
My opinion on what gun ownership.
Yeah. So like, despite what's written in the Constitution, right? Don't think about it from a means of like it's your constitutional right, and also not considering anybody who is not allowed to have a gun, right? What's your stance on gun ownership? Do you think people should be able to own guns, or you believe in owning guns?
I for sure feel people should own guns, have the right to own guns. As far as it being avenue of protection, you feel me? Especially if you like a family with kids, things of that nature, or a business owner, you know what I mean? As form of protection, you know what I mean? But I for sure definitely pro gun ownership. It's just the process of which to owning it, like Dom said, should be updated because it's a little outdated. And those who are able to get their hands on guns right now, we see what's going on.
Okay. So, okay. Now, what types of guns? I think Jerry already said it. Jerry said shotguns, handguns. What types of guns should be available to be owned by average, everyday good Samaritans?
I say your traditional shotgun, you feel me, which was like the first, which was more of a probably like a warning or a get back, you feel me, you getting hit with pellets unless you was up close, you know what I mean? Like you in the house, then it's all bad with a shotgun, you know what I'm saying? But that was more of a get out of here type thing, and then hopefully the pellets bust your ass, you know what I'm saying? So you don't come back. Or a handgun, you know what I'm saying? Handguns are cool. And then
but semi-automatic guns should be not okay. Semi-automatic guns are not necessary.
I don't feel they're necessary. Like, who you going to battle with? How many people you trying to take out at? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like it's necessary to have all type of guns as an option.
You think it's necessary to have all types of guns, like even an Uzi?
If that's what the person who is able to get a gun illegally could bring towards you, you might as well let the person who can buy it legally be able to have the same amount.
Oh wow. Okay. That's
going there.
Okay, that's a hot take there. Yo, we need a little button that I press with niggas hot takes.
Yeah, that was.
My nigga said you should have any gun.
Dom talking about something. They bring that shit illegally. You might as well let niggas buy that shit.
Why? Exactly, right? Niggas gonna get it in here illegally.
But see, that's I think that with me saying that, well, at least for me, I'm saying that no, you shouldn't have the ability to go buy a semi-automatic. I also, in the same breath, would like to state that obviously this is not a real thing per se, but it's like, okay, the illegal guns that are semi-automatics, they've just stopped being brought into the neighborhoods as well. Obviously, you know, that's a whole different topic. But as we talk about what they sell in the store, you should not be able to go buy that shit if you're a regular American citizen.
A semi-automatic gun. You should not be able to buy a semi-automatic.
I don't think that you should be able to go do that because correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, you live in Texas, right? No, ain't no, listen, just go ahead, you know, say if you want to go get a hammer, go get you a hammer. You don't necessarily need no license, right? Can you go buy a semi-automatic? in Texas.
Yes.
It's tough.
It's tough.
That's tough. That's tough. As an 18-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid could go, hey, listen, my birthday is tomorrow. I'm 17. My brain not even fully developed yet. I might be having these thoughts. Niggas been bullying me at school. They've been calling me weird, all type of shit. I'm gonna go steal my mama money. I'm gonna go to the store, go get me a semi-automatic and let that bitch ring when I get to school. That's tough. That's tough. I think that you should have a process to be like, yo, check it out. You just turned 18. Not even that you just turned 18. Like, you need to process whatever your age is. Process. Now, am I the expert on what that process may be? Should it be a questionnaire? Should it be, what's your, you know what I'm
What
saying?
age you think it should
What's
be?
your competence? You know what I'm saying?
What age? What age you think it should be?
I think that, well, they let you go to war at 18 years old. They say you can they can put your life on the line at 18 years old.
If you go to war. Yeah.
Huh? You say what?
You're definitely shooting a gun at 18.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I don't think that it should not be 18, but it's like, I think you should be, like I said, you need to have a competence test. You need to understand what the hell you're getting into. Like, you need to understand you can take a nigga's life with this bitch.
You're able
You
to,
feel me?
well, I mean, you're also able to. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject. I was just gonna go ahead. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No. Finish saying what you was gonna say.
No, I was gonna say it. I mean, before 18, when you're 16, you're able to operate a 2-ton death machine. So
right, and that goes that's something that goes to the conversations of are guns bad? It's like,
well, hold on. Go back to what I just said though. So if you're able to drive a car at 16, right?
Right.
By your logic, should we take away that ability? Should people not be able to drive cars at the age of 16?
No, because at the end of the day, you're going through a test to show that you have the ability to drive this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And you have to have a provisional license. When you first get your license, now I don't know about all the other states. I know about California. You get your license. If you're 16, you get your license. It's not just a free-for-all license. It's a provisional license. You could drive with somebody that's over 25. You could drive like before 7 or 8 o'clock, whatever, before dark, whatever the case is. Like, it's limitations on it. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, that goes back to what I was saying beforehand. There needs to be a process before you're able to go get these certain things. It's not just okay, like, because again, what makes you say that, oh, I'm mentally stable just because I lived 18 years on this life, I'm mentally stable to be able to go get this thing that's able to take lives. Like, now again, you can take a life in a car, but they're not just giving out. You can't just go get a license. You can't just go get a car without a license. Like, can you? Yes, obviously you can go get a gun without a license as well. But what I'm saying, through the process, through the proper way, you can't do that. So it's like, because you can't do that, like I said, there's a process, you got to get it. Same thing should be for guns. If you're all over.
The main problem with guns isn't the people who get guns legally, it's the illegal sale of guns. That's where you get people who are able to fall through the woods.
Okay, we determined, let's kind of just quickly go back through it for the audience. Right, we gave our understandings of what semi-automatic weapons are, what our stance on gun ownerships are, and what types of guns should be owned or available to be owned by average everyday good Samaritans. And now I just want to caveat here something I said in the beginning, in the intro. Nobody here speaking are gun experts, nor are we, I would even say, very relatively knowledgeable about guns at all, myself included. I don't know too much, but I know what I know. And it's actually some of the things that were said here were not entirely accurate. Now, I'll go through it first, so then we can kind of have a better understanding. So first, I asked what your guys' understanding of what semi-automatic weapons are. You guys describe them as guns that have switches that can spray up a whole lot, right? AKs and all this other stuff. Dom went crazy talking about some Uzis and shit. But actually, what a semi-automatic gun is, by definition, is not verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing here, is essentially for every one squeeze of the trigger is one bullet fired. So by that definition, a handgun is actually a semi-automatic gun. An AK-47, what is that one that the shooter used there at the Uvalde shooting? Do you guys know?
No, I do not know exactly. Let me.
Yeah, if somebody can look it up real quick. Anyways, point of it is the guns, a semi-automatic gun is one squeeze per one bullet. So actually you can't spray up, right? Like you can't spray up a school with it. Excuse me. Those are automatic, fully automatic guns, which there is a difference, right? And the problem is that people have the definitions confused. People are pushing for semi-automatic guns to be banned or be controlled, right? But the way that they're doing it is they're describing the guns the way that you guys described them, which is they're these military style guns. Huh? What'd you say, Dom?
They're describing them as automatics.
Yes, they're describing them as they're describing the wrong type of guns, but that's somewhat of a you know, they're trying to trick the public. For people who don't know, who don't have a firm understanding.
Yeah.
If you just go out and you start saying, let's ban semi-automatic guns, you're not saying what you think you're saying, and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Now, my stance on gun ownership is that
propaganda.
So, you know, again, despite what's written in the Constitution, personally, I feel that it's extremely important. It's extremely important for people to possess and own guns. The types of guns that I think good Samaritans, everyday average good Samaritans, should be able to possess are those that are capable of protecting them, right? And I know you guys had mentioned that, you know, shotguns, I think you said it, you know, spray out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meant to scare people off. But what's a limitation of a shotgun, right? You get 2 shells, and then you got to reload it. What happens when somebody rolls in and they got more than 2 shells to be able to pop at you, you know, at one time? You know what I mean? You're at a disadvantage there. That's the same thing as having a fucking musket. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not sufficient in today's modern world, where, you know, if you're having a, let's say, even a handgun, like you guys described, a handgun is more useful because you're able to obviously, you know, you're able to bow. You get a few shots. You don't have 2. But even more, you know, people tend to argue that, I don't know, whatever the gun is that was at the Uvalde. Were you able to find it, Jerry?
Yeah, it's an AR-15.
AR-15, there you go, perfect. So an AR-15, also semi-automatic gun. People want to ban AR-15, so they keep saying AR-15s. AR-15s are coming in and people are just spraying up the shit. No, it's akin to someone coming in with a handgun and fucking shooting at people with a handgun, right? But you wouldn't hear people saying, let's ban handguns, right? Why? Because fucking handguns seem like a pretty fucking modernized way of protection. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, anyways, to get back to it, these AR-15s or whatever, people say, oh, I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter recently and they were saying like, oh, you know, AR-15s are only good for, they're not good for hunting. They're not good for home protection. Well, the thing is that they actually are better for home protection than, like I said, a shotgun, because you have more rounds available to you, but also they're better than handguns because they're easier to point and shoot. I don't know if any of you guys have ever shot an AR before. If you guys have ever shot an AK, I've shot both. If you've ever shot a handgun, I've shot one as well. I mean, not just one, I've shot plenty as well, but it's to say there is a different feel of the gun, right? You have more control of this, you know, depending on your grip. You have 2 hands over just one. For some people, they like the one. They like the handgun feel. So I say all that to say, you know, it's important that people own guns. Why? Because we have, it's meant to protect us from government tyranny. It's meant to protect us from our government becoming too strong, imposing lockdowns on us, telling us we can't go into stores without wearing particular objects or doing particular things in a particular way, not allowing us to have the freedom to go out into public and you know, move about as we wish within the confines of the law. They circumvent the law, say the laws don't matter. We're going to impose something based on, quote, public health. These things matter. These things are important because this is what communism is. This is what, you know, this was what dictatorships turn into, right? Or what turn into dictatorships. We see it in Canada. They're taking away, you know, people's ability to buy handguns as well. It's important. Why? Not only because of our government, but also because of external threats, not just internal, but external. So if I ask this question to people all the time, is like, why haven't we ever fought a war outside of like a civil war, right? Why haven't we ever fought a war on American soil, right? Like a foreign war. Has anyone got an answer?
Because they're not coming over here with that bullshit.
Because we got a strong ass military and because we have an armed society, right? Whereas if you go into another, if we know that the likelihood that somebody in, let's say, Afghanistan has a gun in their house, we know the likelihood is low because they don't allow people out there to have guns. Or let's say even something that's not familiar to us. Go back to what was that? I think it was Stalin, right? Stalin, dictator, fucking Hitler, dictator. Now, everybody listening to this needs to do their own research. Based on things that I found, there's evidence to say that the Germans imposed a gun control measure that limited gun ownership for Jews. Jews were obviously being exterminated by the Germans. And we ask ourselves, why and how was this able to happen? Well, if you don't allow someone to have a particular thing, such as protection, then you know that they're vulnerable and you can take advantage of them, right? And right now, in our current, our country, our society, it's a constitutional right for that reason. It's a constitutional right, so then that way, people cannot be restricted in their freedoms. But we're willingly giving our freedoms up, right? We're willing to, and that's why they always talk about voting, right? They talk about why it's important to vote and all that shit, why it's important to talk about these issues. Because if we don't talk about them, I just let y'all explain your shit because you guys didn't have an understanding of what semi-automatics were, but you had an opinion on how they should be controlled or how they should be, able to be used in our society. And that's a problem, right? Because there's people that are younger than us, less wise, less experienced, who also.
I said that we should all be allowed to have guns.
Say that again, Dom. You cut out.
Nah, nigga, I said everybody should be able to do what they want to do, bro. Don't be putting me with them.
I said,
Nope.
Dumb.
We should have missile launchers and everything.
Wow.
This is.
You think this should be GTA, huh?
Hey, bro, when the apocalypse hit, your ass gonna be
bro.
like, why I ain't got the right guns around?
He think this shit's a game, bro.
Clearly, he's talking about missiles. He's talking about rocket launchers, all type of shit.
Man,
No, but I do think we should be able to have equal force to whatever the cops think might be coming our way. Who knows?
Right. Well, yeah. And to get back to the point that I was making is that, like, we're 30 years old, right? And there's a lot of people like us in our position that are, I would say, just becoming adults, right? At 30 years old, yes, we've had, responsibility for a long time, since, 12 years now, 10, 12 years now for most of us. But that didn't necessarily make us a fully formed functioning adult, kind of like what Jerry was saying earlier about giving guns to 18-year-olds. They don't have a fully formed mind yet. It hasn't developed. And I think that is true for people of our age, even some people that are, older than us. It's not about age, it's about maturity, about wisdom and all that kind of shit. But point of what I'm saying is that we have kids coming out of high school, right? 18 years old, now able to vote, right? And I'm not saying that we should change the laws for the voting age. I think you should still be, when you're 18, you're considered an adult and you should be able to vote. However, I think you should also have a basic understanding of the issues that you're voting on. Because if you can't, and not to say that you can't vote if you don't have these understandings, but understand the implications. Because people think because times are so good, because we live in a society where we can go to fucking McDonald's and pig out all day and we can sit under the stars being, undisturbed. People think and take that for granted. They think that this is something that we are required to have, right? When actually it's a privilege, and that privilege can be taken away, but it'll be taken away even faster if we give it away, right? So that's the important point of this entire conversation, is that we need to learn more about these issues. We need to not just react based on feeling or hearsay. We need to actually go and do our own research. It's why we had the conversation last week, about the abortions. It's because I think a lot of people don't have an understanding. They just we're from California. So we're like, bruh, you know how good life is. We ain't got to worry about shit. We on the beach with it, bruh. Other people across the country are not living like they are in California. Let me tell you, I'm living here in Texas now. They're not living like that. You feel me? It's completely different. And these people actually have to live with decisions that are being made from people who don't give a fuck, right? And I just think it's dangerous as fuck if we allow, politicians who are just trying to, they're more worried about lining their pockets than they are worried about the issues of the actual country. So I think it's important for us as citizens of this country. It's our responsibility, in fact, to talk about these issues, understand these issues, and then act accordingly. Sorry, I know that was extremely long-winded. I took like 15 minutes of talking, but it was necessary. Thoughts?
It's definitely interesting to see how the propaganda machine works and how a narrative can be formed and spun to where you'll be able to have people voting on something thinking that they're causing one thing to happen, and they'll be completely fucking themselves and not even know it. Because I think everyone here owns some type of semi-automatic gun, and to have something like that banned in your state would be pretty crazy, because then it's like, oh, I'm really defenseless. That was the whole point of me buying this gun.
100.
Yeah, I think that that they shouldn't be spreading misinformation. And if you're trying to ban semi-automatic guns, then you're going to face a rebellion, buddy.
So let me quickly touch on something you just said, Jerry.
He's ready for the militia.
Let me just quickly touch on something you said, Jerry. So you said they shouldn't be spreading misinformation. Now, what's typically said in the media is, AR-15s, were the guns that were responsible for the damage that took place at these, mass shootings. This is correct, right? This is not incorrect. This is a fact. Now, is it the responsibility of the reporting party to make sure that the reader understands the information that's being delivered? Or is it the responsibility of the reader to understand the information that's being delivered from the reporting party?
I think that it's the responsibility of the reader, but I think it's also part of the responsibility of the writer to not put it in ways like how you can say stuff in a certain way.
Yeah, you would
you
hope
know what I'm
that
saying?
writers would put it in a way that it's ethical, but
Yeah,
if they don't, you have to, accept that that's the world that we live in and act accordingly.
right. But yeah, the reader should definitely be they're responsible for how they receive the information and how they interpret it for sure.
So let me ask this question. How can we, the four of us on this podcast right now, how can we, inform ourselves better? How can we improve our understanding of sensitive topics or controversial topics? I should say it's not necessarily sensitive, but controversial topics. How can we better prepare ourselves to also help better inform other people?
Well, I think that we can get better at it by being more of an expert on it. So, for example, like you were just saying earlier, you was like, "Oh, none of us are experts about guns." That's a fucking fact. We're not experts on guns,
But
but
does it
maybe if we
require
were.
does it require being an expert just to have
No.
a simple understanding that I
It's
have?
just research.
No, not necessarily, but you're more of an expert than the average Joe.
Well, see, and this is actually a topic that we should. Let me actually write it down because it's something that I've actually wanted to talk about. Folks don't want to take the word of the folks don't want to take. No, listen, because it's a point that I'm trying to make. Is like folks don't want to take the word of someone who they know in other ways would trust. But if somebody who they perceive to be an expert tells them something, they're more likely to do that thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like maybe I can't convince y'all to make changes in your life that are going to benefit you, but hopefully you'll find someday you'll wake up and be like, you know what? I'm gonna read a little bit more. I'm gonna read a fucking book today. I'm not gonna, go and hang out. I'm not gonna go and do this other thing that I would otherwise do that's not gonna necessarily benefit. Let me learn something today. I think if we do that, dog, we'll be much better off. But we're in a trying time right now, yo. We're in a trying time. Motherfucking midterm elections coming up.
Facts.
A lot of shit. That's why all these mass shootings are coming up. That's why all these, conversations about fucking trans rights, and I don't know about trans rights, but like Planned Parenthood or pregnancies, whatever the shit we were talking about last week.
Abortion.
There you go, abortions. That's why all this shit's coming up. But in it coming up, we need to fucking get ahead of it. We need to fucking inform people, and not even inform people because we're not informed, but we just like I said, open the conversation. You feel me?
It's funny how you compared that when elections come around, mass shootings and hella abortions happen. It's a lot of killings.
There's a whole lot of killings. You know why? Because fear drives division.
Facts.
So that about does it for this one. Before we get going, I want to open up the question to the audience. Do you think that semi-automatic weapons should be banned? Do you think that, anything that we said or discussed here today made sense, something you disagree with? If there is, please leave it in the comments. Let us know. We have viewers leaving comments on past videos that we will be responding to some of these things, but make them good, make them juicy, make it something that we can, really, really get down with. So that does it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. And also don't forget to tap the bell. That way you can be notified of all the latest content as soon as it drops. I'm Willie G. On behalf of the rest of the crew, we hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you on the
Gang.
Peace.